Hey everybody, this is the Crossman Sports Talk Podcast, episode 17. How's everybody doing tonight? I had an error last week. I kept saying 15. I was all fucked up last week. It was 16. Now this is 17. I assure you, this is episode 17. We're going to be short another man tonight. Just this earlier today, Brian had a successful vaginal rejuvenation surgery, so his pussy's all right now, so it should be okay. I think we're back on track. He had it all taken care of.
I thought it was his face. You were saying it's his pussy?
Yeah, maybe his face looks like a pussy. I don't know.
Oh, one or the other, right?
So he had his face work done.
And some ass surgery.
Yeah, a little bit of everything fixed this evening. But no, he had some surgery on his legs. We were hoping to have him back next week for the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to start off the night with a little NFL. So we're going to go with NFL. So I found this interesting. This just talks about, we've talked about it. I mean, geez. Over and over each week, we talk about Tom Brady, right? So it came out a couple days ago that he is currently in the process of reworking his contract with Tampa Bay to, shocker, make some space for some other players to kind of, for them to do what they need to do here in free agency. It's absolutely crazy how cool this guy is in regards to doing this.
He's doing the same thing he did in New England. No wonder they were successful. They were able to, keep players and sign players, key players, because... like we talked about last week, quarterbacks take up the most cap space, and, Brady's been successful. I mean, why? Because look at, he's willing to sacrifice to make the team better, where a lot of guys get this big money and, they don't budge. They're like, okay, I got my money now, you try to restructure everybody else's contract to, get me good players. So.
Yeah, because I actually think Tom Brady's mostly doing that is because they already got Levante David back and Chris Godwin. They've franchise tagged Chris Godwin and signed Levante David to a deal. So I think he's trying to do that so they can get Shaquille Barrett back because Shaquille Barrett wants the money. So
it makes sense. Brady signed a 2-year deal worth up to $53.375 million with last offseason. But now they're exploring the options to extend him on top of all things. And he's currently 43 years old, but he wants to keep on going. Why not? You want another Super Bowl, and this is all reported by Jason Lockenfora. They want to extend him past it, and then they're going to make some moves and have some free agency openings for this upcoming year.
I heard they're going to sign him until he's like 57.
That wouldn't surprise me if he's out there.
Right.
Have his old house out there playing.
Still probably winning Super Bowls. Tom Brady going for his 14th.
If we hear those slight words on.
It's gonna happen. It's the guy deserves it. I mean, he's playing well and he's a team player. We talk about this all the time with we'll talk about Dak and everything like that with Russell, but all these guys that take all this change, Deshaun Watson, and then you got this guy that's willing just to restructure and help out his team, which other teams out there should be listening and going, hey, maybe I should quit bitching and moaning about how much I'm making and make a difference.
Yeah, well,
blows me away.
That's why I want Russell Wilson to do something like that. He has the most money paid on the team. He's just take a restructure. Just like how Tom Brady's doing it so they can give us more cap space. Well,
yeah. And but I give kudos to the guy. We talked about him every week over the past few weeks. And, like a couple months ago back, you guys were talking about how he's kind of swayed you in regards to you weren't always the biggest fan. But the older he gets and the things he does decision-wise, you're starting to kind of you dig him nowadays.
I do. I mean, obviously all those years New England winning Super Bowls, and and he can be a little baby on the field, but he's a competitor, and like I said, but when it comes to off the field stuff, he's made sacrifices, and because for years he has not even been close to being the highest paid quarterback when he was in New England.
No.
And you know what I'm saying? He's just willing to sacrifice to make his team better, and I think that's made a huge difference, and where other guys aren't, so see what happens. But yeah, I've gained, like we talked about, I've gained a lot of respect for Tom Brady as far as the things he, and he's a winner. I mean, you cannot underestimate, what he does on the football field. So, yeah, I've actually, the years go by, I become, like him better, for sure.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, good, good luck to Tampa Bay. Good luck to Tom Brady. See what they can do to kind of get another Super Bowl or make it to the playoffs or whatever they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
In other news in the NFL, we talked about last week with like the Kyle Rudolph cut and just for teams to make some cap space. The Tennessee Titans yesterday released Malcolm Butler. He's a 7-year vet, and he was holding about $14.2 million cap number for the upcoming season. By releasing him, that clears about $10.2 million in cap space. He had 4 interceptions this year, tied his career high. He had a good year, and he's a great player. He's a good corner. But it just right now with everything going on, they had to make a sacrifice, and they cut him. And we'll have to wait and see what happens. He signed a 5-year, $61 million deal with the Titans in 2018 after spending his 4 seasons with the New England Patriots. And he had, but they had to make the sacrifice to cut him. And it just seems like this is going to be a trend going into free agency.
I think teams normally would have not. I'm pretty sure this wouldn't have happened if COVID wouldn't have happened and the cap space would have dropped. But teams are having to make cuts that they probably normally wouldn't have done. Because like I said, guys that got signed, 2 years ago before COVID hit, there's no way they would have been cutting these guys. But, right now trying to free up money. And what they're doing is, what's happening is they're cutting people and they're hoping to re-sign a lot of these guys back. Like, for instance, with Seattle this week, we found out Dunlap got cut. But I think they're going to try to bring him back, which a lot of veteran players that are getting cut, they're going to get cut to see if they could drop their price and come back at a lower price to fit the cap space. So
yeah, that seems to be a common theme. And talking about in regards to NFL free agency coming up, and then franchise tags. So Tuesday was a deadline. Yesterday was a deadline to kind of get your guys in there and get them everything squared away. So a couple surprises in regards to like which teams franchised who. I'm not surprised. Like Tampa Bay, you were just saying, Gavin. Tampa Bay did Chris Godwin to keep him around so they could work on something.
And then the Bears did.
And then the Bears kept Allen Robinson because we were talking about it last week and we thought maybe he'd go into free agency.
Mm-hmm.
But looks like right now he's going to be a Chicago Bear and they're going to work him out for this year.
And I believe it was also Brandon Sheriff too on the football team got franchise tag too.
Yep, he did get a franchise tag. He'll earn about $15 million on the tag for Brandon Sheriff right now.
From the Redskins, he did get tagged.
Yeah,
huh?
from the Washington football team. So they franchise tagged him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there was a couple other ones, but surprising ones that were kind of. There were some notable players who did not receive the franchise tag when there was a lot of talk about that occurring. Like Aaron Jones for Green Bay, they didn't franchise tag him.
I'm really surprised at that.
I am too, because there was talk about him not being able to make it, but then the franchise tag was going to be that saving grace to kind of keep him around.
I'm pretty sure. I think the Packers don't want to do that. Is also because of their cap space right now. I think they kind of want more to clear it up, than put them more down.
I think so
more
too.
Cap space, so they want to get it going more upwards and going downwards.
Yeah, and you got to make the sacrifice. You got to. So he'll be out there available for running back for somebody. And someone will get him because he's a very talented running back.
Mm-hmm.
A big one that was there was Kenny Golladay for the Detroit Lions. Was not franchise tagged.
I heard that they were going to cut him, though, just because he's a good player. Galladay's a good receiver. I mean, he got hurt at the end of the year last year. He had some injuries, but he's a solid number one.
Agreed.
For sure.
Yeah. And that was kind of a surprise. He said his goodbyes to Detroit. He tweeted out some goodbyes, and there was a lot of people that were surprised, though, that they were kind of doing the axe on that one too. So considering he's a talented wide receiver, but we'll see what happens. He'll go somewhere. I mean, all these guys are going to go somewhere and make a difference. Like for the Seahawks, they didn't tag. There was talks about who's Seattle going to tag if they use it. Chris Carson, Shaquille Griffin. They decided to not do either guy, and they're going to try and work something out.
I kind of thought KJ, since KJ was asking for so much money, I kind of thought they would franchise tag KJ Wright and then try to work deals with the other two, but
he's KJ. They're not going to tag a guy that 11th, 12th year. They're not going to tag a guy like that. That's
probably not that far into his career already.
No, I don't think
not
so.
a vet like that.
So they are going to try to rework a contract.
They're going to try and do something else, and so they didn't tag either guy, and
a lot of teams are going to test guys in free agency.
Yeah, I think that's what they want to do with especially with Carson, to kind of see what his value is worth out there in the market, and then bring him back at a low price, just like the Carlos Dunlap cut him out. They don't want to pay him that $14 million, and they want to.
I kind of feel like a lot of guys are going to go after Aaron Jones and Chris Carson.
I think so too,
because those are like the top 2 running backs.
So there could be a good chance we may not see Carson come back to Seattle, but we'll see what happens when he works it out.
Which I think.
And there's a big talk, like a lot of guys, I mean, because of what they've posted, didn't sound like he was too positive about coming back to Seattle too. But you know how it is when guys get close to the end of their contract and something's not getting done, they kind of throw that attitude around like, oh, they don't want me. Every team has a player that does that. So, just have to wait and see. We're getting close. I believe, would you say 15th, 16th, 17th is when signings start?
17th is free agency officially begins.
St. Patrick's Day, yeah.
15th, I heard, is like when it's just.
I think that's when you can talk with guys, right? You can't do anything officially.
And
you can
trade talks and all that.
Yeah, I think
stuff.
that's a couple days before, and then the 17th is official.
Is when things start.
St. Patty's Day, so they start doing stuff on that. A couple other ones that were kind of notable. The Chargers didn't tag Hunter Henry like a lot of people were talking. So Hunter Henry's a great tight end. He's going to be out there.
I feel like the Patriots are a viable option for him because the Patriots don't have a tight end, and the Patriots are working with a top 5 cap space. So I think Hunter Henry is perfect for them.
Agreed. Yeah. So
yeah, he's a great tight end too.
It's gonna. So yeah, this, like I said, we've been saying every week, man. This offseason is going to be wacky, and with all these weird franchise tags not happening, and who got tagged, who didn't get tagged, who's going to be out there. I think you're going to see a lot of guys swapping teams and going back. It's going to be a trip to see who's on here, who's on this team, and who's on this team upcoming. It's going to be weird.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a lot of face changes in the NFL. So
yeah, I'm curious to see how it all flies, but we'll see. In other NFL news, so the plot thickens in the Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson saga, I guess we can call it right now. So earlier this week, the Seattle Seahawks organization sent a letter to all their season ticket holders.
I heard about that.
So this letter discusses DK Metcalf. It talks about Tyler Lockett. It talks about our new run game coordinator, Andy Dickerson. It also talks about our new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. But not mentioned Russell Wilson in this season ticket holder letter. So obviously people are going nuts on what does it mean? Is there any deep meaning behind it? What's going on here? I was watching something on NBC Sports yesterday, when they started talking about it. It broke on the 8th, but there was something they were talking about yesterday, and they were saying like Seattle must have a really smart lawyer because the organization must have smart lawyers because they're like, hey, to be safe, if this trade occurs, we don't want his name on this letter because if we have people like getting season tickets because of Russell Wilson, and they're going to go, hey, on your letter, you promised me Russell Wilson. I bought tickets for me and my family so we can come to every Sunday and watch Russell Wilson play. And now he's not on the, here he is on the letter, but he's not even on the team anymore. So what the fuck? That's what their issue is. But so they're saying Seattle's got a smart lawyer that said, let's not do that just in case something happens.
Or give everybody's hopes up for if they did put him on there and
That's
give
true.
up everybody's hopes. Because if he does get traded, they don't want to give everybody.
I wouldn't go too much into that. That's just business, I mean, with everything that's gone on with him this year, and like we talked about this crazy past year and going into this year, I just things like that. There's so much uncertainty